Let me introduce CVM Board of Director member Michael Sullivan, who will provide some of the background of why Stephen A. Cohen made this unprecedented commitment to veterans and military families.
So you may be wondering, what's a hedge fund guy from Connecticut doing opening up a military family clinic in Tampa? I'm going to tell you just a brief story of how Steve Cohen ended up getting involved with veterans philanthropy and what's brought us all together here today. It was about 10 years ago that Steve's oldest son, Robert, who was about to graduate from Brown University. Brown, as many of you probably know, is not exactly a hotbed of military recruiting. He literally shocked his dad by telling him that he wanted to enlist in the Marine Corps. There are members that have served in the military in the Cohen family, but this wasn't something that Robert had talked about previously. So it surprised his dad, but also made him tremendously proud. Robert was a kid who grew up in New York City during 9/11. And he felt a calling to serve. Robert came home from Afghanistan fine, but a lot of the men and women he served with did not. And through Steve's involvement with the Robin Hood Foundation in New York City, we were noticing that young Iraq and Afghanistan veterans were turning up homeless on the streets of New York, a lot of them facing mental health challenges. At that time, New York City was totally unequipped to deal with these mental health challenges facing veterans. We didn't have the infrastructure. We didn't have the clinicians trained with the military cultural competency to be able to help these veterans and their family members get better. So Steve initially embarked on opening one clinic in New York in partnership with New York City and in partnership with NYU, and it was a tremendous success. Veterans were coming in, their spouses were coming in, their family members were coming in, and they were getting better. They were getting better both based on their own diagnostic measures, but also on their own self-reported measures, how they felt, how they were doing. Were they able to get work, get employed, get out in the community and re-engage? So based on the success that Steve saw in New York City with that first clinic, he challenged us at the firm to go try to scale this nationally. We knew we couldn't do it ourselves, and so we went and we found a great CEO, Dr. Anthony Hassan, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, who's helped us build this national network of clinics. We're thrilled to be here in Tampa. We're here for a reason. We study the country, we study the needs of veterans and their family members, and we look where the need is most and where we think we can best help to fill gaps. One of the things that we do that's unique, and one of the things that the VA and others aren't as well equipped to do, is treat the entire family unit. So we're able to not only help the veteran, but also their spouse, their children, family members, really treat the whole family unit. So when you come into the clinic today, which I have to say is absolutely beautiful, you all have done a spectacular job. You'll see those family rooms. You'll see rooms specially geared towards taking care of children and really the whole family unit. None of this happens by accident, and one of the things that I just wanted to note is these veterans issues in an era, especially coming up on a presidential election, of partisanship. These aren't partisan issues. You have your mayor here of Tampa, you have Congresswoman Castor here, you have the governor here. It's tremendous to see the bipartisan outpouring of support for this clinic and for veterans issues. You have two leaders on veterans issues that have worked these issues across the aisle. It's incredibly important. It's incredibly important we come together as a community to support our veterans and their families. I wanted to just invite Congresswoman Castor, if you'd like to come up, Castor, just for a moment to welcome everybody. Please come on up. Congresswoman Castor is in her 7th term representing Florida's 14th congressional district here. Congresswoman, you don't know this, but you were coming in to the House just as I was leaving. I had a couple great years working for Mary Bono on the House of Representatives. So as I was heading back up to my home in Connecticut, you were coming in. So please welcome, and we're glad you're here.
Well, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. everyone. It's wonderful that we can all come together on a Monday morning to recommit to serving America's veterans. And I'm so pleased that my former colleague in Congress and our new governor, Ron Desantis, is here. Thank you, Governor, for being here in Tampa today. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your commitment to Florida's veterans. And it's always great to be here with my big sister, Mayor Jane Castor. All right, you're laughing because, if you don't know, we're not really sisters, but we are sisters in service. Yeah. So, you know, after 9/11, so many brave young women offered themselves up for service to this country. About 2.6 million Americans answered the call to serve. And now that after years in Iraq and Afghanistan, our longest war, that longest war has taken its toll. And about 20% of those service members are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So for the clinic now to understand the toll that it has taken is so vitally important. We have a wonderful group of committed veterans, nonprofit organizations, governmental organizations, Hillsborough County, the city of Tampa, the best VA in the entire country with the Haley VA, and yet there are still some very significant gaps. We have an intractable suicide rate among veterans. We have a real strain on their families. So I'm particularly grateful that the Stephen A. Cohen Military Clinic is going to start in Florida right here. And to Aspire Partners, thank you so much for what you do in taking care of all of our neighbors. This is, of course, the right place to come because Hillsborough County is home to more veterans than any other county in the state of Florida. We're rich with veterans and military service members, many who served at MacDill Air Force Base, but many who just committed their lives to service. This is also important that we do this because Florida continues to lag behind other states when it comes to mental health care services. We can do so much better. But in the meantime, we need to fill these gaps. And what I like about the clinic and the structure you've set up here is that you're going to serve the entire family. Because oftentimes the VA, and we had a great roundtable at the primary care annex, especially focused on female veterans on Friday. But what we are hearing is oftentimes the veterans will come, or maybe they won't because there's a stigma. And we need to engage the entire family because making those veterans reach their full potential and combat the struggles they face after years of deployment, it takes the entire family, a supportive community. So I want to thank you all. There's no better place to be because the University of South Florida and the Haley VA are at the forefront of cutting-edge research to support our veterans. So thank you to each and every one of you for what you do to make sure that our veterans get the care that they have earned. This is a patriotic community, and I'm so proud that we're able to demonstrate that again. Thank you very much.
I'm now got the easy job of introducing somebody who doesn't need any introduction with this group. Governor Desantis, we're thrilled you're here. We appreciate your service. Governor Desantis obviously served on SEAL Team 1 in Iraq in 2007, won the Bronze Star, is a graduate of both Yale and Harvard Law School, served as a naval officer, and then served his country in Congress and was active on veterans issues, those bipartisan efforts that I talked about earlier that really was an effort across the aisle to really fill the gaps and help our veterans who are returning in increasing number from Iraq and Afghanistan with real mental health challenges. Governor Desantis has his own Forward March initiative here in the state of Florida, where he's worked with the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs to ensure high-quality veteran service and support. You've leaned forward on these issues. We appreciate that. It really shows. And just on a personal note, as a part-time resident of Florida Keys, really appreciate what you've done and the work you've done across the aisle on the Everglades restoration. It's incredibly important to the residents, the fishing boat captains, and all the tourists from around the country that come and enjoy the Florida Keys. So without further ado, Governor Desantis, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks a lot, and it's really an honor to be here. One of the things that we had in terms of our insights, in terms of what we can do at the state level to help veterans, is to understand and appreciate that, particularly in the state of Florida, we have a wealth of people who are willing to give time and resources to things that will benefit veterans. And so we didn't want to create new government bureaucracies. What we wanted to do is do what we could at the state level, but really leverage a lot of the great energy that takes place in this state. And I think we've done that with a number of things. For example, one aspect of our forward march was identifying gaps for active duty personnel in terms of legal services, because you may get orders to deploy and your landlord may be fighting with you about whether you can pause your lease, or you may have a family law issue, all these things. Well, they may get those services on the base, but those people, those officers cannot go outside the base and help them. And so we enlisted all of Florida's top law firms to be able to create a reservoir of pro bono resources so that those folks will be able to get that. And that obviously affects peace of mind, allows them to be more effective. And so that, I think, is a way we can really make a difference. And so here, this is not just some resources. I mean, for Steve Cohen to put this amount of money into this particular issue is really, really, I think, without peer in terms of individuals who have done things to benefit our veterans. And so what we want to do in the state of Florida is obviously to welcome this support and then do what we can to leverage that to benefit as many veterans as possible. With the mental health and the post-traumatic stress, we've actually come a long way in treating a lot of the physical wounds of war. I mean, if you look back at 100 years ago, we have tens of thousands of veterans from the post 9/11 conflicts that would not have survived those wounds in previous conflicts. But with modern medicine, we got a lot of very brave people who work as medical doctors and corpsmen, and Navy they're corpsmen, to get out on the battlefield and help people who've been injured. And so what you've seen is people have been able to live purposeful lives, even with significant wounds. But man, those contributions, I think, are very, very important. And we much rather be treating wounds than losing people. And so I think that has been something that has really been positive. You can see the physical wounds of war. I mean, if you see somebody, maybe they lost a limb, maybe they suffered some type of disfiguration. You can see that. So, obviously, we do what we can to treat it, but I think everyone understands that. And we've done things in Florida, some of our organizations, like building houses that are specially designed for a veteran that may have certain limitations. And so everything, because you think about your daily life, if you all of a sudden didn't have use of your arms, just the things that you would do, and it makes life terrible to live. And so they figure out ways to do it so that those inconveniences can be minimized. And I think it's great. It's a little bit more difficult to understand what I say is invisible wounds of war, when you have veterans who are suffering from things like post-traumatic stress, because someone may look fine coming back, and you don't see. And then even if somebody is acknowledged to be in need of services, you don't always know whether what you're doing is going to be effective or not. So it's a very difficult problem. And I think what's happened since 9/11 is you've seen a steady increase in attention to veterans' mental health issues. This is something that we've never really done a great job with. I think we're doing much better. We're starting to understand, I think, things in a better way. And when I was in Congress, I mean, what I saw with doing oversight over things like the VA is, look, the VA, it's obviously very bureaucratic. They got a lot of rules and regulations, and a lot of that has been in place since even before September 11th. It's very hard to change and stuff. And so when you have people in the charity or private spheres that can fill gaps, I mean, it's very, very important, because these guys here at the Cohen's Veteran Network, if something isn't working, they can change really quickly and try to find something else. They don't got to go to Congress and get the law changed or go through a rulemaking or any of that, or worry about where they're going to get the. So that is very, very important. I think it fills an absolutely critical role. And I also appreciate the fact that, one, this is not just active duty and active duty veterans. I mean, they're also serving people in the reserves and in our National Guard. In Florida, that's very, very important. I mean, our Guard has been very active in performing a lot of key missions over the last 15 to 20 years, and they're continuing to this day. They're in some very, very serious spots around the world. So I think that's important. But then also the fact that they really view veterans' mental health as a family issue, not just the veteran, which is obviously important, but when you have veterans who are deploying, it's not just the veteran that has to deal with that. It really does affect the spouse. It affects the kids. And really, it's a team effort. And I don't think enough credit is given to our veteran spouses, because it's very difficult situation if you have a spouse deployed 6 months, a year. When I was in Iraq, we had the Army was doing 15-month tours. So when we got in there, you had a brigade combat team that had gotten in mid-November, I think, of 2006. So you have the members missing Thanksgiving, Christmas. They're there the whole year, and they would get a time to go back for a little bit, but not a lot. And then they miss the holidays again. So 2 times they do that, and that takes a toll. So seeing this as a family issue, I think is great, and I think that means it's going to be we're going to have better opportunities to have success with this. When you're over forward deployed, I think one of the things that really stuck with me is the number of people who were still relatively young. I was over there 07, 08. So, I mean, but since 9/11, you had people that had spent more time since they were 18 in Afghanistan and Iraq than they had in the United States. And what we were doing, because we didn't have a draft, we're focusing on the people that were willing to do it, but that was a small segment of our population. And they were being asked to go over and over and over again. Well, that takes a toll. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so here today, I think Tampa is going to have great resources to be able to help treat our veterans that do have wounds that are real but maybe invisible to the naked eye. And I think the Congresswoman said it very well. This is one of the top military communities and veterans communities in the country here in Tampa. If you look at the active duty mission with some of the most significant combatant commands headquartered at MacDill Air Force Base, and then the fact that many veterans choose to live in the Tampa Bay area when they retire. Of course, we've got a lot of good places for veterans throughout Florida. I mean, a lot of them like Northwest Florida, Northeast Florida. So we appreciate that. And we have the 3rd largest veterans population in the country. I think if you did the numbers, our percentage compared to population would even be better than places like California. So it's something that really matters to us. But we really view it as a team effort. Government can't do it alone, so we want to work with all these types of groups to be able to have the best veterans experience we can. And Cohen's Veteran Network, they're stepping up to the plate really, really big here in Tampa. I know they're talking about doing more throughout the rest of the state, so we're going to welcome that. And I think part of the thing is when I noticed being active duty is like, there were resources available, but it was very confusing to know like where to go and this and that. And I think what they've done is a good job of really publicizing this so people understand, that you have a place to go. And I know they've been in touch with people at MacDill. I'm going to have my National Guard leadership sit down with them so that we can steer folks in the National Guard here if this is something that could benefit them. So this is a very good day. I look forward to continuing to work collaboratively with the Cohen's Veteran Network and really appreciate everything that our veterans throughout the state of Florida have done for our country. We would not be free without their sacrifice. So thank you and God bless to them.
Thank you, Governor Desantis, for your inspiration, for your commitment to veterans and families and to mental health issues. Thank you, Soli, for sharing Steve's story. And thank you, Congresswoman, for also being committed to this cause. We greatly appreciate it. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Anthony Hassan. He's had a 25-year career in the military, in both Air Force and Army. Anthony currently serves as the CEO and president of Cohen's Veterans Network. Aspire Health Partners is very proud to partner with Cohen Veteran Network on this clinic. This clinic is a very surreal day. It's not only exciting that we bring it to this community, but yet very personal for me. My brother-in-law was active in Italy in the Navy. After being discharged, came home with severe mental health issues as well as learning to self-medicate. 8 years ago, he had succumbed to addiction and his mental health issues. This clinic is going to be able to help people like Rob get back to better. It's about saving lives, it's about reuniting families, and it's about really doing what we need to do for every person, their veteran, their family, and their wives. Anthony, what CVN has done across this country has been remarkable. We're thrilled that you've chosen Aspire Health Partners and that you've chosen Tampa to open this next clinic. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be back in Tampa. I had 5 wonderful years here when I was stationed at MacDill Air Force Base, so nice to see the uniform here. I ran the mental health clinic here, and I deployed from here, and I have a home in New Tampa, so it feels really nice to be here. I'm also a USF graduate. I got my doctorate there, so go Bulls. I'm always a Bulls fan. We had some good years. I'm hoping for some better years ahead, football-wise, that is. Academically, the university is thriving, and it gives my degree more credibility, so I'm really happy. But what a joy it is to be back here to bring a clinic to a community that I love. I've spent about 10 years in the state of Florida, so we're looking to do more. Mr. Cohen has given you a gift. He's given all of us a gift. Those who wore the uniform a gift. Our families a gift. Because we have 14 clinics operating across the country because of him. You have one here now. We're going to put one in Jacksonville, Florida. We're going to do a lot more here in Florida. But we all have this gift that he's given us, $275 million he's charged me with in terms of building this network of clinics across the country. That's more than $250 million. Who does that? Amazing. We have a wonderful board. Sully, thank you for all those kind comments. Sully's a board member, but also Steve's chief of staff. They're in this to win it. They believe in this. This is important to them. So I just want you to know that there's commitment from the very top, from Mr. Cohen all the way down. So thank you again for coming and being a part of this. And Aspire, Babette, where our success is only as good as our partners. Our partner is local. We like local. Local understand local. And we believe that's a way to manage this network, is that we support them to deliver the mission. And so we're really glad that we've partnered with Aspire. We have much more to do with Aspire. We want to get into Orlando and do more there as well. Governor, appreciate you coming and your service as well. It says a lot. And we want to do more for you and for this great state and for the National Guard and Reserve members who are often caught in between coverage. For the active duty medical group commander, I want you to know we're not going to get in your way. We don't serve active duty members. That's your business. Our business is to take care of veterans, their families, and military families. Military family members sometimes go to the community for care, and we want to be that place for them to come to. We do this because of the philanthropic dollars of Mr. Cohen. We are a not-for-profit organization. There is no funding made here. Mr. Cohen supplements at least 70% of those that we can get reimbursed for. So this is not about profit, this is about mission. And I wouldn't be in front of you today if it wasn't about mission. This is our 13th clinic. 13 is a lucky number in Cohen Veterans Network, by the way, so it's going to do very well. Next week we'll be in San Diego for the 14th clinic's grand opening. And then we're off to faraway places like Alaska. We're going to put a clinic in Anchorage, and then we're headed over to Hawaii. It's tough, but someone's got to do it. So we're going to Hawaii, right outside of Schofield Barracks in Mililani. We're looking forward to doing great things there. And then Jacksonville will be our next clinic here in Florida. We're on our way to 25 clinics. That's our goal. But if you know Mr. Cohen and you know Sully, there isn't an end. This is an ongoing development process. The more we can do, the more we can do together, the more that we'll be able to do in the future. One thing I just want to emphasize, and you're going to hear more about it later, is this idea of breaking down barriers. You know, as I travel across the country building this network of clinic, I've learned a lot. And one thing that I've learned is that it's not just stigma that keeps people from getting care. It truly is access. You can pick up a phone now, I challenge you, and find out if you can get seen by a mental health provider within the next 4 weeks. It's dismal. Okay, the reimbursement rates are too low. Providers can't get paid. They're taking cash-only economy. How many people can afford to go to a therapist and pay out of their pocket? So what Mr. Cohen has done, he's demonstrating to all of you that access to care is important. It's so important that you can get it here with no barriers. We're going to provide free transportation to and from the clinic. We're going to have a child care representative here in the building if you need them for your appointment. We're going to work with you on any way we can to break down a barrier. We have telehealth services already ready to go. First day this clinic opened, they had telehealth capacity, meaning we can see you in your home. You never have to leave home. We can see you in your car at lunch hour when you're taking a break from work. There are no barriers at the Cohen Veterans Network. As has been mentioned, we're here to fill gaps. We're not here to replace anyone. We have no interest in replacing the VA. That's not our business. Our business is to be holistic, comprehensive, and support the entire family. There's so much work to be done. There is no competition here. We're here to do good by those who've served our country. I want to make a special thanks to the Tampa Bay Rays. Thank you so much, Brian and Rafaela, for coming out today. It's amazing to have your support. And of course, we have our board member, Gary Goldring, who is a part owner of the Tampa Bay Rays. So we're looking forward to a relationship with you and getting to know you and supporting all the veterans that come to your game. And thank you for making the games available to veterans who might not otherwise be able to get there. So thank you, Tampa Bay. So with that, I just want to say that Steve Cohen has made it, this unprecedented commitment to veterans and military family members to build this network of clinics. We hope that members of the local community will see the value of this clinic. We hope that private entities, state and county and city government will see the value of what we're doing, that philanthropy considers what we're doing and joins Mr. Cohen in this effort to be able to continue to do what we're doing over the long term, because this is an enduring challenge. I just want to foot stomp that we're not here to say veterans and military family members are broken. On the contrary, I am here to say, though, that life can sometimes throw us curveballs. Things happen in life that challenge us. Maybe it is your deployment. Maybe it's the divorce. Maybe it's that transition from active duty to civilian and you're still trying to find your way and it gets to be a bit depressing. Maybe you feel disconnected and lonely. That's what we're here to do. We're experts at PTSD treatment, but we're also experts in depression and anxiety. So we're not broken. We just need a good resource that's accessible with high quality care. And so with that, we do have an enduring mission ahead of us. We are the largest private network of clinics to serve veterans and military family members. And we're going to continue to grow and be the best private network of clinics to serve veterans and military family members, because Mr. Cohen has made this investment for us. So thank you. I'm so happy to be back in Tampa. Have a great day.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm glad we've taken this journey together. We're committed to making the network proud of the work here in Tampa. Our next speaker has had a long career serving this city. She was the first female police chief in the Tampa Police Department. Community outreach has been a cornerstone of her career, in which the Golden Rule ensured that everyone was treated with dignity and respect. She's been the recipient of many awards for her leadership in law enforcement and community involvement. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Jane Castor, Mayor of Tampa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this event today. This is wonderful. Thank you, Congresswoman Castor, for all of your partnership in working on issues that are important to our community. And Governor Desantis, thank you for your service to our country, and thank you also for all that you've done to work with us here in Tampa. And welcome to the best city in the Sunshine State, without a doubt. If you haven't figured that out yet, you certainly will in the very, very near future. I also want to start by thanking all of our active and military and veterans also for your service to our country. God bless each and every one of you. So, as you heard, I'm not a veteran, but I did serve in law enforcement for 31 years. And I was a chief of police for 6 years. And one of the things that really weighed heavily on my heart when I became the chief of police is that I really didn't have any way of assisting our officers in handling those things that they had to deal with on a daily basis. I always tell people that being a police officer, you get to see and do things nobody else gets to see and do, but you also have to see and do things that no one should have to see or do. And so I got with one of our chaplains with the police department, and we looked for programs around the United States. And what we found was that the armed services had the best service provision for those individuals that were dealing with mental health issues. And that is something that we have ignored as a country. You know, we have that stigma that has caused us to turn a blind eye and not make individuals suffering feel comfortable coming forward. And then we certainly haven't stood up as far as the provision is concerned. So at the Tampa Police Department, we started a retreat, and we would have officers go out for a week, and they would go as a group, and we would use a technique that was developed in the military called EMDR. It's an eye movement resolution technique that helps you deal with these traumatic experiences that you've dealt with. And so the individuals that went to it, I would ask them to come see me afterwards and tell me, you know, how they felt about it. And to the person, every single officer that came into my office and talked about it cried, saying that they had no idea how their career as a law enforcement officer had affected them personally. One officer asked if his wife could call me, and I said, sure. She called me and she said, thank you for giving me my husband back. She said, it's been almost 20 years and I have my husband back now. And you think about that in a day-to-day basis of what police officers are doing out on the street. Think about that magnified for those individuals that have dedicated their lives and have been put in harm's way in the front, in the combat front lines, and think about what they bring back and have to deal with. So to be able to have a facility like this in an area that is a military town, we have MacDill Air Force Base that we embrace as a community and is certainly doing amazing things around the world to protect not only our freedoms, but other countries as well. And all of our veterans that we have here in this community. And we have a great facility in our VA hospital. And as the governor so eloquently put, we can help individuals that come back with those physical injuries, but it's quite often the unseen that we aren't able to provide those services. So this facility is going to be able to provide those much needed services. And I couldn't be happier that it's here in the city of Tampa. So I thank the Cohen Veterans Network for choosing Tampa for this facility. The one promise that I make is that we will be the best partner that you could ever have imagined in making sure that we're taking care of our veterans. And when you look at those individuals that dedicate themselves to service, what better group to help, to lend a helping hand to than those individuals that raise their right hand and take an oath to defend our country, to defend our country's freedoms and the things that we often take for granted. So I thank everyone for your service in the military. I thank Cohen Veterans Network for everything that you have done to provide this much needed service. And I thank everyone in our community. I see so many business partners out there for what you do to address and help our veterans. And I thank you, Governor, also for everything that you are doing for our military, active and retired veterans. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you, Mayor Castor. We appreciate the support of the city, and we look forward to forming a strong partnership. An exciting time for us within the Cohen Veteran Network and Aspire Health Partners was, as we started to implement the vision, was the hiring of our clinic director, Karen Planchette. As a recognized expert in the field, Karen brings over 30 years clinical experience and managerial experience with areas of specialized populations, traumatized individuals, and working within communities. Karen, would you come up, please, and share your story?
Good morning. So for me, this job was kind of like the planets all coming into alignment. After nearly 30 years in the field of clinical social work, the last 20 of which included clinic administration, I found myself at a point in my career and in my life where I was ready for something new. I knew Florida was my choice destination, as both I had become kind of all set with that Massachusetts winter, and both my children and now my beautiful grandson all live here. Sorry. However, I also knew that I would not just be happy doing anything. That I needed to find a job that was exciting and made me feel re-energized. My pie in the sky dream was to find a job that allowed me to give my time and talent to a population that was in need, and to work for an organization that operated under the highest standards of care for those that we serve. If you're gonna dream big, right? So I had applied for a few opportunities here in Florida that, after interviewing, were just not the spark that I was looking for. I knew I had to trust my gut, and that if and when that right opportunity came along, I would know. Then, in December of 2018, I was a surveyor on a reaccreditation team for Aspire Health Partners. I left that survey knowing that should an employment opportunity ever arise with that organization, it was one I would definitely be proud to work for. Fast forward a couple of months, and what pops up in my email? A position with Aspire in Tampa, in partnership with Cohen Veterans Network. After a little research, I knew that this was the job for me, and not one, but two organizations that I would be more than proud to work for, and the opportunity to give back to our veterans and their families, people who have given their all for our country. Well, 3 interviews, 6 weeks, and 1,200 miles later, I found myself in Tampa, Florida, hiring the most awesome, compassionate team of professionals for our new clinic and our dream. I am so excited to finally have our doors open. The Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at Aspire Health Partners is honored to provide services for post 9/11 veterans, regardless of discharge status. Additionally, we provide services for the family members of both post 9/11 veterans and active duty family members. Our team of professionals includes veterans of the Army, Navy, Marines, and Army National Guard, which makes every day very interesting, I will tell you, as well as families of our veterans. Access to is a primary focus for us. We do believe that when someone picks up that phone to ask for help, they need it now, not weeks from now, and we need to be ready when that need arises. Services can be provided both at our clinic and via telehealth, allowing us to offer treatment to any veteran or military family member in need in the state of Florida. We provide high-quality, individualized behavioral health care for many challenges, including post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, anger, grief and loss, transition challenges, relationship and communication problems, and children's behavioral issues. Our modalities for these services include individual, family, couples, and groups. Additionally, we provide case management services to help connect those we serve with supportive, often critical services in the community to ensure ongoing care after clients have completed care with our team. We have established numerous collaborative relationships within our community with the superb local community providers, including the VA, to allow for comprehensive care for our veterans and military families. Together, we can help our veterans and their families get back to better and living happy, fulfilling lives. On behalf of the entire team of the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at Aspire Health Partners, I welcome you all, and I'm very excited to show you our beautiful, warm, and welcoming clinic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. We're very proud of the team you've assembled. Can all of our clinic team members please rise and be recognized? From many individuals today who are passionate about veterans' issues as well as mental health care. Our next speaker, Ryan Pitts, is well known for receiving the Medal of Honor from President Obama. Ryan was awarded the Medal of Honor for actions in Afghanistan on July 13, 2008, when a well-organized anti-Afghan force consisting of over 200 members initiated a close proximity, sustained and complex assault against 49 Americans. He became the 9th living recipient of the nation's highest military decoration for conspicuous gallantry and valor during actions in Iraq or Afghanistan. I am honored to introduce Staff Sergeant Ryan Pitts.
Good morning, Governor Desantis, Congresswoman Castor, Mayor Castor. Thank you for your service to our country, your support of veterans and their families, and your obvious leadership by example, in all the things that you're doing in those areas. I loved my service, absolutely loved it. Didn't start out that way. For about the first 2 years, I hated it. Carried a little book around with me where I wrote down all the reasons why I wasn't going to re-enlist. Because if you've been enlisted, everybody just tells you, you wait, recruitment's going to come around, it's time to get out, you'll re-up. Not this guy, I had a book. It wasn't going to happen. But I got there, and I loved it. And I was really fortunate in a lot of ways. I was stationed in Vicenza, Italy. Not bad. It was pretty good over here. And I was really lucky that I got to spend 4 years with really a core group of brothers. And we grew up together. We got there as privates. We went on our first deployment to Afghanistan, came back, were promoted, became team leaders together, and then deployed a second time. And we became a family, a motley crew. Probably guys that I wouldn't have chosen to hang out with if I had been back home. But we were as close as could be. It's amazing to look back and think that I had some of the best times of my life and the best friendships in the worst possible living conditions and situations. But I look back on it, fondly. For all the terrible things that happened, I really try to focus on the positive. But the biggest change happened on July 13th, 2008 with the attack. That morning we lost 9 of our brothers. Sergio Abad, Jonathan Ayers, Jonathan Brostrom, Jason Bogar, Israel Garcia, Matthew Phillips, Pruitt Rainey, and Gunners Willing. We were 2 weeks from coming home at the end of a 15-month deployment. And that day was the last day that I saw a lot of those guys. I ended up coming back. I went to Walter Reed. I spent a year at Walter Reed rehabbing. And I had only really given thought to the physical wounds. And it was interesting, when we were deployed, this probably wasn't the best position to take, but I knew if people got physically hurt, I mean, as long as they were going to live, that's all I cared about. If they got on that helicopter, I knew somewhere or another they're going to get put back together, and they're going to be okay. But I never thought much about the mental health aspect. And that even came with me at Walter Reed. I spent a month inpatient. I was really just focused on the physical wounds, and I remember there was a bunch of us that came back from the battle together, and we were fortunate that we were able to have that team there to rely on. But I remember the psychologist coming around and asking, if I wanted to talk. I was like, no, I'm good, and well, we're going to do a group session. Okay, I'll participate. The rest of that in my head was, I'll do it for the guys. I don't need that. I'm going. I'll be there for everybody else. So they wheeled me in there on my bed, and we had our little session, and that was the last time we did that. Fast forward, I spent a year at Walter Reed. It was kind of a good place to transition, moving from like a airborne infantry battalion brigade to Walter Reed was kind of like a soft opening to becoming a civilian. I'm not knocking Walter Reed, unbelievable facility, but people walking around with hands in their pockets and iPods in their ears, so I was a little baffled. And I came home and I went to school, and honestly, my transition at that point was pretty smooth. I found college pretty easy, not academically, but from the standpoint of it was very much like the military. There's task, condition, standards. There's a syllabus. I got to be here at a certain time. You're showing me what you want. I just got to achieve this standard. Okay, got this. I'm working towards a goal. 4 years flew by. I got married. I had my son 2 weeks before I graduated my senior year. I added a little bit of pressure. Get that job, get those health benefits. And then I got my first job out of school. It was funny. I can remember there was one time I was standing around talking with one of my peers, and I did software sales. So think of like Wolf of Wall Street, only slinging software. Really exciting stuff. Get hung up on a lot. And we were on a break time, and we were just talking about my service. He didn't know much about it, but he'd asked, what was it like? I was like, I loved it, And he's like, I couldn't imagine wearing the uniform. You lose all your individuality, and it was interesting because I had never seen it that way. My perspective was, well, I put on that uniform. Well, one, I never had to think about what I was going to wear. I love that. Don't be fooled by my socks. I like the uniform. But I also was a part of a team. That's the way I saw it. I was a part of something bigger than myself. And surprisingly, that was I've never been more comfortable being an individual than when I was in the military. When they kind of strip away appearance-wise, that individuality. And, I think it wasn't long after that, there hasn't been a day that's gone by where I haven't missed my service, where I haven't missed all my brothers that are scattered across the country. You have a lot of them here in Florida. So you like that warm weather. You're enough sleeping in the field. And it's never gone away. And I started to struggle more. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Things just didn't feel right. I never felt quite home. And it was kind of, baffling to me because my combat experience for all of it, that never disrupted my life. I had dreams, but they didn't bother me, maybe hyper alert and stuff, but nothing that really disrupted my enjoyment of life. But there were other things that were, starting to happen, and, missing that team. And, over the years, my friends had talked to me. We stayed in touch. We've been in each other's weddings. Our wives know each other. Our kids get together and play. And every once in a while, I would get a call from one of them. And they might sound a little bit different, and eventually they'd, open up and tell me, hey, I'm going and talking to somebody. And I always thought it was strange that I felt like I could sense this shame, concern in their voice about sharing that with me. as if I could, if it was possible to think less of them. And I can tell you it's not. I mean, the men that I got to serve with were absolute warriors. There's nothing they could do that would make me respect them any less. I just wanted them to be happy. I just wanted them to, enjoy the life that we fought to come home to, that our brothers sacrificed their lives to bring us home to. And it happened, with a number of them. And it was good, and I think that made it easier for me, but I was baffled by the fact that, I was struggling with this becoming a civilian thing. I was like, how is the combat not it? And I can get this, in the military, we're trained to play hurt. I could push through. How could I do all this stuff in Afghanistan, and keep on trucking? But this, becoming a civilian, this is the hard part. And things started to change at home. I know there reached a point where I just wasn't being the father or the husband that I wanted to be. I was distant. I wasn't present. I had a short temper. My wife, unbelievably supportive. She was not with me. We weren't together while I was in the service. I was single. A lot of video games, energy drinks, things like that. But she got it, from talking to my friends and the other spouses that were there. And she was going to support me no matter what. And she had told me, she said, Ryan, I'm going to support you for as long as this takes you to get through it. If you need to get through it on your own, that's fine. But she said, we've been talking about you're going to get this for a while. I'll support you, but when do you think it is that you're going to get that? And it had been 9 months that I'd been telling her, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. And, I think for me, it was, the hardest thing I ever had to do was pick up that phone and call a mental health provider to say that I needed to talk to somebody. Hardest thing that I've ever done. It, at the time, kind of felt like a blow to my pride. And my only regret is that I waited as long as I did to do it. There's stigma, whatever it is with mental health, we're just centuries behind physical health. I mean, there's been trauma and transition challenges from military service since the First War. Read the Odyssey. What happens in that? And it didn't take long after I went in, and we just talked. And I got back to being the person that I wanted to be. And I'm really thankful, grateful for the opportunity that I get to follow around Sully and Anthony in their wake while they leave all these incredible clinics all over the country. I think this is the 6th opening that I've been to. And it is amazing. Over 12,000 veterans and their families served. 44% of them are family members. I told you about how my wife didn't serve with me. I didn't fully appreciate our family service until I got married and had kids. And I started to think about what it was like for us deployed, and those spouses back there worrying, taking care of the house, holding down jobs, taking care of the kids, doing all the things that life's hard enough if we hold regular. I'm learning that now. It's hard enough. I got a regular job now with 2 kids. But to do that when your loved one is gone, the fact that the CVN clinics treat the whole family is amazing, because they serve. Thank you for your service. If you're a family member in any way, shape, or form. They don't, and they allow the veteran to define what a family member is. That's incredible. And they're providing treatment across the spectrum. You heard my story. My story wasn't as much about PTS as it was just transition and depression and anxiety. That there's a full spectrum. Not all this trauma comes from combat. There are other types of challenges that exist. There's military sexual trauma, right? And it's all valid. It is all equal, in my opinion, greater than the physical wounds. My invisible wounds, I think, have impacted my life far greater than my physical ones. And I'll tell you, I don't have the time or energy to let stigma get in the way anymore. My opinion's changed. That you break your ankle, you go see the doctor. Think about everything that your brain controls Why wouldn't we just go talk to somebody? You know, we have to normalize it. And I try and tell my friends that it's not a linear path. This isn't I go, I talk, I'm cured, I'm never going back again. I see my PCP once a year. I see him when I get strep or a cold. You know, you got to be willing to understand that you might have to go back, and that's okay. And every time we share our story, we break down barriers. That you're going to get help might save somebody else's life. It might encourage somebody else to go get the help they need. Be the parent, husband, wife, mother, father, son, daughter that they want to be. You know, you're going to get a chance to go in here. This is an incredible. I've seen all the clinics, incredible clinic. You know, but facilities and organizations are only so good as the people. You know, and they got an incredible partner in Aspire, with Beth's leadership, Karen. I've gotten to meet the team. I've gotten to meet the teams all over the country, and they do an incredible job picking winners of people that I would say are defined by passion. That, you know, Anthony said, you don't get in this business because you want to get rich. You care about helping people, and they do. And I'm grateful that this came the third largest population of veterans in the country. That this is a tremendous resource here, that I can't wait for people to take advantage of it, because they're going to save families, they're going to save lives, and they're going to help people get back to better. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Ryan, for sharing your story. So now it's time. We are about to officially open this new facility. Governor Desantis, Congresswoman Castor, Mayor Castor, Aspire board members, and the rest of the VIPs here, will you please join me at the front of the stage so we can do the official ribbon cutting?
Good to go?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Whoa.